Welcome to the Sports Dagos with Raiders Riportare.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.
Murph! It doesn't get any better than Metallica and the Raiders in the same sound space, occupying the same spectrum of noise. I believe we have created the best sounding minute and 44 seconds the world has ever seen. Do you agree?
Absolutely, 100%. There is nothing finer than Metallica and the Oakland Raiders. Excellent combination. Excellent work on the new intro for the Raiders Riportare.
You know, Murph, last week we talked about this show needed an intro. We played the Autumn Wind. We played the Autumn Wind several times, but it was like the Autumn Wind is the Autumn Wind, and we didn't want to lean on it too much because it's awesome. You're right. It's my phone call music. It's my alarm in the morning. I mean, it's so many things. But we needed something special. And so when we were thinking about what to do for an intro, one song popped into mind, and that was Creeping Death. There's no song that has an intro like Creeping Death, and that just does it all and stuff. You know, it has the changes. It just has the energy. Last night, it was a lot of fun. We were going through, every Metallica song possible. No, this one. No, this one. No, this one. And Creeping Death is what we have landed on for the Raiders Riportare, and I am so excited, man. Welcome, all you listeners, to the Raiders Riportare. This is the Sports Dagos. You can find us on the interwebs, thesportsdagos.com, and on Twitter at thesportsdagos. If you are listening and want to call in and talk about your beloved Raiders, the phone number is 971-270-2007. Again, that number is 971-270-2007. Murph, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited to be here in the Dago Dungeon to talk our favorite sport, our favorite team within that sport and that organization. We're talking about the Oakland Raiders.
And Murph, this week, San Jose did something that was actually pretty darn cool. It's about a new stadium for the Athletics, but does that have a bearing? Does that have any change or anything to do with the Raiders? What do you think that's going to do?
Absolutely. This is such a boss move by the city of San Jose. You know, back when the San Francisco Giants were trying to get out of Candlestick Park and to get their whatever stadium built, you know, of course it ended up in China Basin, downtown San Francisco, where they built AT&T Park. But they were exploring the option of going to the South Bay also, and part of their leverage was declaring rights over the South Bay, declaring rights over the San Jose, which is part of the South Bay and obviously the biggest area for, you know, revenue and population and all that stuff. So by gaining those rights to the fan base, it really helped propel them to make a deal with San Francisco, because San Francisco felt threatened and they may lose the Giants to the South Bay. So they helped the Giants come up with AT&T Park, which is absolutely beautiful. I was very fortunate to be able to attend a game there a few years ago, and it's amazing. It's an amazing place to watch a baseball game, and good for the Giants. I'm glad they got their spot. Now, here's where my contention always has been from this original scenario, and really is starting to manifest with everybody that's in the South Bay, is the fact that the Giants never retracted their, quote, claim to this fan base. Well, by having the claim to the fan base, it has absolutely prevented the Oakland Athletics from moving to the South Bay, because Major League Baseball will not grant them the right to be able to move down there. Well, 4 years ago, Mr. Swift himself, Bud Selig, developed a committee to do research on the situation. That's 4 years ago. That's 4 years ago. This committee got put together to find out what was going on and how it was going to impact the game and the teams and blah, 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 blah. 4 friggin' years and still nothing has happened. So San Jose, the city, has decided to take action against Major League Baseball to hopefully generate this lift of this, I'm not going to call it a ban, but whatever it is, this embargo on the Oakland Athletics that keeps them from moving to the South Bay. Now, there are a couple of interesting things that come into play here. The revenue that would be generated for the city of San Jose by having a downtown ballpark is massive. There's all kinds of numbers that are thrown out in that article that we posted up there. Basically, it ends up being millions and millions of dollars for hotels, for restaurants, for a lot of the service industry. Transportation. There's all a litany of things that generate revenue, and especially in an area like downtown or the outskirts of downtown San Jose. Now, so here's and those are often talked about. The jobs that create when you put up a new sports venue, things like that. There's a lot. That's pretty much consistent across the board when you look at cities that put in these new ballparks. The thing that's very unique about San Jose, though, is that they already have a site, they already have the funding, and they already have the naming rights for the new ballpark in Cisco. It's going to be Cisco Field or Cisco Park. All of those things are absolutely established. So this is basically prevention of all of these other businesses to earn. So it violates what the city of San Jose feels, many, many laws that prevent these businesses from flourishing. So all that said, if San Jose wins this suit, or at least wins a judgment, and the A's are gone, guess what happens to the Raiders? They're then the sole occupier of the Oakland Coliseum. Look what it did for the Niners when they became the sole occupier of Candlestick Park. It absolutely put the pedal down and fueled the negotiations for the Niners to get their own ballpark, their own football stadium, which is coincidentally in the South Bay in Santa Clara. That is what will happen for the Oakland Raiders, whether it's an on-site thing where they tear down the Coliseum and build up a new Oakland Coliseum next to it, or they move to Fremont, or they whatever it is. This will absolutely fuel those talks. And the good part about it as a Raider fan is that will help keep the Raiders in Northern California. Now, granted, hopefully it'll be an on-site. They've already done the surveying, and there's enough room there for the Raiders to build a new Oakland Coliseum next to the existing one and knock it down. So there's hopefully that's what happens, because we all want to see the Raiders stay in Oakland as much as you and I are diehard, grew up, born in San Jose guys. While it's kind of cool to see the A's move to San Jose, I don't want to see the Raiders move to San Jose. I want to see the Raiders stay in Oakland. The Raiders need to stay in Oakland. That they are synonymous with that city. The city is it's blue collar, it's gritty, and that's what the Raiders are. San Jose's, Silicon Valley, it's just a different vibe. It's a different vibe. So that's what we have looking forward to as Raider fans. Hopefully this will accelerate the process here, and the Raiders will get their new stadium sometime soon.
Here's my only worry. I guess there's multiple thoughts about this. We all know the stadium, it's a love-hate, man. We know it sucks, but yet we love it because it's Oakland Coliseum. I mean, my dad took me there when I was a little kid. I don't want that place to be torn down. I don't want to go anywhere else but that place. I'm not going to call it O.co. To me, it's Oakland Coliseum, man. It's where I first watched sports. It's where I first smelt the grass of a baseball field, man. I watched Kenny Stabler back in 1987 playing a flag football game against the Steelers back in the day there. I don't want that place to go away. And when they were the LA Raiders, it was like they were a completely different team. They were still the Raiders, but it was like, this isn't my Raiders. This isn't my dad's Raiders. It just never felt right. So do I want Oakland Raiders? Do I want the Oakland Raiders to move to San Jose? No way, man. No way, no chance whatsoever. I don't care if when you walk in that stadium, there's sewage on the ground and you turn around and you bump into concrete walls and all that stuff. Like, that stadium is the Oakland Raiders. It's tough and gritty, and like you said, it matches the Raiders and it matches Oakland. But if the A's, if they move, and we all know that the Giants' lawyers are going to try to prevent that as much as possible, which is why, as an Oakland A's fan, I don't see how you can be a Giants fan because they're screwing it to the A's when the A's were the original ones to give them the rights, but that's another conversation. If the Oakland Athletics move, do the Raiders move? Does San Jose, a couple years from now, say this thing goes down next year, 2 years from now, stadium's built, 5 years down the road, San Jose is reaping benefits from having the Oakland A's there. Oakland A's are reaping benefits. New park. People will want to come play for them more now. So the A's are reaping benefits. San Jose is reaping benefits. Do all of a sudden Mark Davis and the Raiders, who want to build and want to expand, the Raiders, and they've talked about building that, Hall of Fame right next to the stadium and stuff like that. Do the Raiders all of a sudden go, hey, San Jose, we'll work out a deal too? I mean, we all know that the story of stadiums and the Raiders and how that's gone for us. But does Davis look at the success of the A's moving and then all of a sudden say, hey, we'll move too? Or is it more of, now that the A's are out, we can, not have to worry about having dirt, on the field for half the year, and we can just, tear it up and sod it, whatever they do. And that's my only question, is if the Raiders would get enticed to move to San Jose as well.
Well, and if that's the case, and I know we have a lot of Los Angeles listeners and folks that, they grew up in L.A. when the Raiders were in L.A., and that's where their fandom was formed. And so, for us Bay Area guys, we have a little bit different of a look at the Raiders than what they do, and they then have a different look than us. So there's a little bit of different perspective there. But what you said about it didn't feel right when the Raiders were in L.A., yeah, it didn't. And as much as I do have respect for those Southern California Raider fans, to us Northern Californians, it didn't feel right. It was funky, and a lot of folks looked to other football teams to support. Whether it was Marino's Dolphins or God forbid they became Niner fans or whatever. I mean, there was a lot of other teams that drew my attention and drew a lot of other Northern California Raider fans' attention. So, all that being said, if it's San Jose over LA, come on. If that's what it takes to keep them in Northern California, then yes. I don't want to see them become the Los Angeles Raiders again. Again, all due respect to all you folks down there to listen to us, but that's not where the Raiders belong. The Raiders are not a Southern California team. You had your Southern California team, and they moved to St. Louis. You have the San Diego Chargers. the Raiders don't belong in Los Angeles. It's just it doesn't feel right, it doesn't look right, and it's not it doesn't honor the legacy of the football team. They need to stay in Northern California, preferably Oakland, but again, I'd rather them be in San Jose, Fremont. Shoot, you can move them to Alviso. I don't care. Just keep them in Northern California.
Yeah, I'd agree, man. They won a Super Bowl as the LA Raiders and all that, but they're a Northern California football team. They're Oakland, tough and gritty football team, and if they move to San Jose, that's cool. But let's talk about the other side of it. Say the A's get the rights and they move. How cool is it then that the Raiders can do what they want with that stadium? Maybe they complete Mount Davis. Hopefully not. But it just opens so many doors to make that place solely a football stadium. And so either way you cut it, it's going to benefit the Raiders, I think, if it happens.
Absolutely. Well, listen, it's catching a renovation if the A's move. Period. I mean, it's going to absolutely. They will. We've already seen a little bit of the redo this year where they're tarping off seats and all that kind of stuff. But yes, the nicest thing will be the lack of infield dirt, and the guys will get to play, on grass for a full 8 games. But yeah, I could see a lot of other renovations, and that's been kind of the talk is that, if they don't have the money or the facility or the site, I should say, to build a whole brand new stadium, then maybe they do a, $30 million renovation of the Oakland Coliseum. Again, to go back to the Niners, we saw that with Candlestick. When it became a football-only park, there was a lot of changes that got made to Candlestick to where the Niners are going to still play. They're going to, up to next year, they're going to be playing in Candlestick before, the Santa Clara Stadium gets done. So I don't think it's going to be done this year. I may be wrong on that. But either way, it made it all the way up until now before the Niners are going to move. Candlestick is old. It's, just as old as the Coliseum is. I mean, don't write me emails or tweet me on that what a moron I am, but they're relatively close. I mean, they're both, 40 plus. Oh gosh, it's even more than that now. Whatever. They're both very, very old facility. 47 years old is how old the Coliseum is. I'm going to assume Candlestick is somewhere relatively close.
Well, Murph, let's look at it. Candlestick Park construction started in 1958 and it opened in 1960.
So 53 years. So it's actually older than the Coliseum.
Oakland Coliseum opened in 1966. So Candlestick's what, 6 years older?
Yeah. So there you go. So 6 years older and the Niners are still playing there. So and that was after the additional money that got put into it when the Giants left. So is it feasible that the Raiders could still play another few years in Oakland while they're, dump some money into the Coliseum, play a few more years there, and then move on to the new stadium? Absolutely. It seems to me like the timeline is starting to shape out a little bit now. But again, it's all going to hinge on this judgment and whether the Giants retain the rights to the South Bay fan base. And I'll tell you what, guys, if they do, despite whatever, whether you're Northern California, Southern California, San Jose versus Oakland, whatever, at the end of it, if the A's don't move, we're going to lose both of our teams because the A's are moving somewhere. So if it's not San Jose, they're moving somewhere. Now, I don't know where that may be, whether it's Oklahoma City or Nashville's been talked about. There's a lot of other cities that the A's could end up going and playing. And then ultimately, we're going to lose the Niners. Listen to me. Well, ultimately, we're going to lose the Raiders too. So we're going to lose both of our favorite, sports teams here. So it's not a good scenario here if this judgment doesn't get overruled.
Murph, transitioning into a different topic here. Dale Rivas, has he set the bar for Charles Woodson as far as jerseys go? What's going on with this stuff?
Well, there's Darrelle Revis paid. I'm trying to think of the guy's name here. Let me see me bring it up.
Mark
Revis,
Barron.
Who is it? Mark Barron?
Mark Barron, yeah.
Mark Barron. He paid him $50,000 for Mark Barron to give Revis the number 24, which is what he wore when he was in New York. And Charles Woodson used to wear the number 24 when he was with the Raiders, ultimately started wearing 21 when he went to the Packers. And now that he's back with the Raiders, he's looking to secure the number 24 back again. When we look at his minicamp pictures, he wore the number 2, which is kind of funny. He wore the number 2, but he's looking to secure back the number 24. So my question is this. Revis paid $50,000 to Mark Barron to get that number 24 back. Tracy Porter currently owns the number 24 for the Raiders. Does that mean that Charles Woodson then should feel somewhat obligated to pay $50,000 to Tracy Porter to get his number 24 back? Or, being that Tracy Porter is a first-year player on this football team and Charles Woodson has a long tenured history despite his absence here over the past few years, does he and should he just command the right to get that number back? Should Tracy Porter just hand it over to him? And then the third part of this is, should these guys really be paying $50,000 to another player? I mean, we're talking about one millionaire paying another millionaire $50,000 for a number. Shouldn't that be more of a, and this is more of a philosophical question, I guess, but shouldn't that be more like a charitable contribution? Like, doesn't these guys have like a foundation they can give that to or something? Like, I'm trying to put myself in that spot. And, I'm not a gifted athlete that plays in the NFL, but if you and I are on the same football team, Sonny, and I'm wearing your number and you come in and you say, I want that number, not only am I going to feel relatively obligated to give it to you because you're the senior guy, but okay, yeah, give me $20,000, but give it to the Josh Murphy Foundation benefiting autistic children or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? Like, shouldn't that be more the protocol and not these guys just cutting a check for $50,000 from one millionaire to the next?
I don't know. I'm in a fight right now with a good friend of mine for who's going to wear number 22 on our softball team. So I get it. I think, sports, you have superstitions, Like Michael Scott said, I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious. And so numbers, it means something to a guy. If you've worn that, if that's your identity, if a kid turns on TV and he looks for number 24 on the Raiders and sees it, but doesn't see the name on the back, then he's going to associate that with Woodson versus Porter. And, it happens probably all the time. You associate numbers with guys, Joe Montana, what's his number?
16.
What Jordan wear before he retired?
23.
What's Larry Bird's number?
33.
What's Stabler's number?
12. That's my number in softball.
What's Casper's number?
87.
So what's Marino's number? Jimmy 13. Kelly. I mean, Elway. You know guys
7. By
their number, and so it's like you know guys by their number. Sonny Jurgensen, number 9. You just you know guys by their number, and so I think it's a big deal. I think it's a big deal, and whether he paid it or not, the $50,000 Revis or whatever, that's between the guys. But $50,000 to them is $20 to us, right? $100 to us, probably not a big deal. But I think with Woodson, it'd be kind of cool. And he says in that article, and we posted it, he wanted to wear number 2 when he came in the league back in '98, and he wasn't allowed to, or somebody else.
Well, yeah, because that's what he wore at Michigan.
That's what I'm saying, and he wanted to wear that. So number 24, while he's synonymous with it, while that's what we remember Woodson as wearing as being a Raider, that was like his second pick. He really wanted number 2. So in a way, how cool would it be that he comes back to Oakland? That's already pretty epic in itself, and then gets to wear number 2. Would that, I don't know, inspire him anymore to play well, or would it just be kind of a cool fitting to his story?
Well, he can wear 2 in camp, but they're not going to let him wear 2 in games because there is, although the policies have gotten a little more loose in the NFL, you still are, you can only wear certain numbers at certain positions, and no, he's not going to be able to wear number 2 playing safety.
You don't think he can wear number 2 playing safety?
No. That's a low number reserved for kickers and backs.
Really?
Yeah.
You think it's like that though, huh?
Yeah, Google me. Yeah, no, he's not gonna be able to wear number 2 as a safety. He'd have to be listed at another position to wear number 2.
Is there a rule? I'm guessing what I'm asking is there a rule to where you cannot wear a number 2 as a safety?
Yeah, it's reserved for special teams players and backs. So in more so than backs, quarterbacks. Yeah, no, you can't just wear
1973. Yeah. Interesting. So he can't wear it. Okay.
No, so he can wear it in camp.
Dang it, he can't.
The recent number change was, you think about wide receivers. When you look at the history of the wide receiver position, they all wore 80s numbers, but then in recent, and I don't know, it's been, we'll say 10 years, 10 plus years, they've been able to wear lower numbers. You see guys like Brandon Marshall, Jacoby Ford, you see these guys wearing numbers that are, in the teens or 12 or whatever. But that's only, they have to pay, I think it was $500 if I remember right. They have to actually pay it's not a fine, but it's basically to wear a number that's not linked directly to your position. In order to do that, you got to pay an additional fee back to the NFL. So if you're Brandon Marshall and you want to wear 15, you got to pay the NFL $500 to be able to do that. Otherwise, you got to wear 84 or whatever.
Yeah, well, then that's an interesting debate. I didn't know that. I guess there's an actual number clause here. But then at the same time, Tywan Jones wears 22, right? I think that's his number.
Yeah, but he's going to be a back.
And that's Porter's number. Yeah, but that's Porter's number, so that's why Porter's going to wear a 24 and where Woodson can't wear a 24.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were talking about if Tywan Jones switches to cornerback, he wouldn't have to switch his number. Because you can wear it as a running back or a cornerback.
No, yeah, but Tywan Jones wears 22. That's Porter's number, so Porter's is wearing 24, and then Woodson's going to wear whatever he's going to wear. I think in that scenario, if Woodson can't get number 2, then Porter has to recognize. And then I guess a question would be, if Porter doesn't give it up, 24, a number that he really doesn't even care about or not even affiliated with, it's not even his number, does he get a bad rap because of that?
Yeah, I think so. And I didn't realize that's you're right. Now thinking back, that's what Porter wore in New Orleans and Denver was 22. And yeah, what a chump. Yeah, he totally should give up 24. And also, if Charles Woodson wanted to go back to 21, which is what he wore in Green Bay, that was Ron Bartel's number last year, right? Does anybody even have 21?
I think it was Ron Bartel's, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if somebody else that came in, Jenkins or any of the other corners, I don't know if they have any claim to that number, but it's going to be interesting to see. It's so funny as in late in June, this is the kind of story that garners the most attention and the most discussion is that, what number is Charles Woodson going to wear, So, yeah,
hey, hopefully
he'll be able to make 24.
It makes a difference.
You know why it makes
What's his legacy and his revenue?
Let me tell you why this makes a big difference personally. This week I decided I was going to bust out a Raider jersey. I typically, it's hot, summertime. I don't wear a lot of Raider jerseys, but it was kind of a cool night. So I decided I was going to wear a Raider jersey. I'm looking through my Raider jersey inventory. I came across my Puma jersey, probably circa 99, maybe something like that. Whenever Puma had the uniform deal with the NFL, my number 24 Charles Woodson jersey. So I'm and it wasn't the C Woodson when him and Rod played together. It was just Woodson 24. So I kind of hope he wears 24 because I'm going to bust out that old Woodson jersey and wear that to Wapapalooza 13.
Yeah, and then if you wear it, that's kind of weird. If you wear that and then go to the game, but he's wearing a different number, it's just kind of weird.
Right. No, I'm not. I'm wearing Kenny Stabler's jersey or something. I'm not wearing that. If it's Woodson wearing 22 or 21 or something, I'm not wearing my 24 Woodson jersey.
Murph, the Raiders notoriously catch so much flack by the media. No matter what they do, it's never good enough. It's never the right choice. I think even this week, Jamarcus Russell a picture surfaced of him, and he's like 250 pounds. Looks in pretty good shape. And there was some, knocking of the Raiders again and stuff. But I think this week, and this is national story right here. Not so much for what the guy wrote, but for the fact that he didn't really bash the Raiders. Is that correct, Murph?
Yeah, that's correct. And we're talking about an article that showed up on NFL.com this week. It was published on June 19th, 2013, by Gil Brandt, who is one of the senior analysts for NFL Network. And very encouraging. The title of the article, of course, it's the Brandt Report, is the name of his segment on the website. And it says, Oakland Raiders 2013 outlook dire, but hope remains for future. And what I thought was very curious about this article that Gil Brandt wrote was that we've heard a lot of criticism, some of it fair, some unfair, but lengthy criticism of the Oakland Raiders' moves, and never anything that kind of looks at the reason why the Raiders made any of the changes or made those moves that they made. And so we as Raider fans, some are negative, but at least here in the Sports Dagos, the Dago Dungeon, we look at the positive reasons for the change. We look at we try to find the good reasons that the front office is making the decisions that they are nowadays. And so Gil Brandt goes through and he lists off a 1 to 7 of things that have happened in the Oakland Raiders organization and how they may lead to this conclusion of the Raiders being an improved team for next year's season. And we've said numerous times, if this team gets to 8-8, we'll kind of feel fortunate. They're probably about a 6-win team. That's exactly where Gil Brandt pegs the Oakland Raiders. He says that while after all these changes, the Raiders are probably going to be a couple of games better. Perhaps by notching an upset or two, they might even get above there. So 7-8 wins, maybe topping out most likely about a 6-win team. And that's really where we see them as true diehard fans of this team. So to have somebody outside, somebody that's an objective reporter to state that, I think is pretty cool, and it's pretty good for the Raiders. So again, I mentioned there's 7 things he listed. So Sonny, I'm going to read you these things 1 to 7, and you tell me how accurate or at least how pertinent these 7 things are. So the first thing is a quarterback steps up. He mentions about how Carson Palmer, kind of struggled last year, and about how it's a position that's still in flux. But what do you think? You think this year we're going to see a quarterback step up for the Oakland Raiders?
It's hard to tell. In there he talks about Matt Flynn, who just has the 2 NFL starts, but that Matt Flynn, is more than likely going to be the guy. He talks about Tyler Wilson, though, eventually winning the job. But then he says Wilson's small hands are a concern. And it's tough for small-handed quarterbacks to have success in the NFL. And that's interesting. It's interesting. Because as fans, we tend to just look at stats and how he does and all that kind of stuff. But when you look at something like the guy has small hands. He could have all the intangibles in the world, but if he has small hands, you can't really beat that. So I think, number one, I think that's a question mark. I think Palmer, at least with him, you kind of knew what you got. With Flynn, it's an unknown. With Wilson, it's an unknown. With Pryor, well, we know what he has, but is he the guy you want to go with? I don't think so. Maybe only on some special packages. So I think one's more of a question mark. I don't agree with that one.
You know what they say about guys with small hands?
Hey.
They wear little gloves. Number 2, the new assistants make an impact. We've often talked about the thankful departure of Mr. Greg Knapp and the arrival of Tarver and Tony Soprano. What do we think here? Do the new assistants make an impact?
I think they do. We all know about Olsen coming in. We all know about Soprano. Fitting. Or Sperano. Never mind, that's his name. I call him Soprano.
It's Tony Soprano.
The big thing I think that we're missing and that I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, and maybe they have, is the new linebackers coach, Bob Sanders, who was with the Packers when Reggie was there. And we all know the Packers have some pretty good linebacker core. With bringing in guys like Roach and teaming up with Bob Sanders, that, I think, could be the most improved area for the Raiders. Burris, he's pretty good. We lost Wheeler, McLean, he's out of the league already. I think that's going to be huge. We talk a lot about the defensive backs getting better and Woodson, but the linebackers, from what we've already heard with their being hungry, combined with Bob Sanders, who knows Reggie, and Reggie's a linebacker himself, I think the Raiders could have a pretty solid linebacking core in 2013 and for years to come. Maybe down the road, one of the best linebacking cores in the NFL. So I definitely think number 2 is dead on.
Number 3 states the offensive line improves. Clearly addition by subtraction, eliminate the zone block scheme, bring back, the power run. You got these monsters on the offensive line anchored by, the Hulk, Jared Valdir. Does the offensive line improve to the level that we expect it to?
I think that's still a question mark. They're going back to the not the zone blocking scheme, but the kind of the one cut man on man. So I think that helps McFadden, obviously. Valdir, one of the best left tackles, kind of growing up. Growing up in the league, he's only been there 3 years. Wisniewski's been there 2. Both kind of, stepping up. The rookie, Watson, we'll see what he does. I think the question mark, though, is Barnes, man. Is that guy...
Penalty machine.
Yeah. Is he going to... you're only as strong as your weakest unit. So as much as Wreck-It Ralph is going to do on the left side of the center, a lot depends on what Barnes is going to do on the right side and stuff, Typically, you run behind your right tackle, and then, left tackle blocks the DN. But with Valdir being freaking a monster, why couldn't we just run behind him as well and stuff, and use him just primarily as our run and our pass blocking guy? So I think the big question mark is the right tackle. Is Khalif, does he have a better year? Can Watson step in? I don't know. So I think it did improve based upon the coaching that we brought in with Sperano, but I'm not sure how big of an impact we're going to see with that just yet.
Number 4, Charles Woodson brings some veteran savvy to the defense. I think this one is just about as explanatory as it could possibly get. But my question to you is this: what impact does that savviness on defense have on a guy that really should be a perennial Pro Bowler in Tyvon Branch?
Having Woodson for Branch, I think that frees Branch up to help with the run. We can have Woodson back there playing center field. We can do different blitz packages with Branch. I mean, Branch is maybe an undersized linebacker. The guy's a freaking stud out there, So having Woodson being so smart can play back there, by himself with some cover one packages and use Branch more as a blitzing guy, more covering, help him with the run and stuff. So I think it's 100%. Woodson helps out that defense secondary and brings help to the run game because it frees up Branch.
I couldn't agree with you more, and that's probably one of the biggest jumps I'm looking forward to this year in the secondary is our safety play. Number 5, the ground game contributes something. We all have lofty expectations for Darren McFadden, but at the end of the day, the guy hadn't played a full season yet, and while he is getting ready to crack into the top 10 of all-time Raider rushers, when you get outside of Mark Van Egan and, of course, Marcus Allen, and there's really not a lot of flash when it comes to, or big numbers even when it comes to the top 10, runners that have wore silver and black. So I'm not sure how much that actually says about Darren McFadden, but we have an expectation bringing back the one-cut run scheme. What do you think, though, collectively, between he and Latavius Murray, is that going to be the go-to for the offense, especially with the rookie quarterback, or are we going to look to be a little more spread out?
I think much like quarterback stepping up, the running game was a question mark. We all know McFadden has the talent. We all know Reese is very versatile, and we all know McFadden runs better in kind of a one-cut system versus the zone running game. But again, it's a question mark. Can McFadden stay on the field? Can the guy play, late in the season? Can we rely on him? If something did happen, we made the playoffs, can we give this guy 20, 25 carries a game? And can we rely on him? Especially if we got a rookie quarterback in there in Wilson, or if we got, Flynn, who is essentially a rookie. Dude's played 2 games. He's been around a long time, but man, talk about needing to rely on a run game more than ever. It's now or never with McFadden, and I think he hits it out of the park. Gil Brandt, he says, if the Raiders are to have any success in 2013, this is where the team must improve. I couldn't agree more with that.
Yeah, me neither. Running the football and stopping the run, I think, are the 2 most important things this team needs to address. Last week we talked about how the Raider defense was looked at a, run, boom, or whatever it was, where it was basically shut a guy down 2 or 3 times, then all of a sudden, he explodes for 67 yards and a touchdown on you. That leads us to number 6, where he says the defensive front coheres. And, while when we lose Richard Seymour and Tommy Kelly and replace them with Walker and Sims, clearly there's an athleticism drop down there. That yes, Tommy Kelly and Richard Seymour, athletically and ability-wise, are going to outperform Walker and Sims. But my question to you is not only the cohesion part of it, but the discipline part of it. That, Kelly and Seymour were not disciplined players. Do we expect to see not only the cohesion, but the improvement when it comes to penalties on the defensive front?
I think, again, it's a question mark. Could it be good? Yeah. Could it be a disaster? Yeah. Could it be just a learning season? Yep. Could Nick Roach have some good games? For sure. Can we rely on him all the time? Was he a hidden gem behind Urlacher, or was he not starting for other reasons? I think it's a big question mark. I think Houston, it's now his time to shine. If he wants to really step up and lead that defensive line, it's now. Take it, man. I don't want to say now or never, but it's his for the taking. Sio Moore, I think, again, you want to come in and make an instant impact. Here you go. The thing I love about the Raiders is that it's wide open, man. It's here's a team. We need your help. We got a whole bunch of money to throw your way next year. Show us you deserve it. And I think there's just a lot of question marks, but I think it's good. Guys are hungry. Anyway, go ahead.
Last, we have number 7. The young receivers keep growing. Last week, we talked about Dennis Allen's press conference when they got done with minicamp and how he mentioned in reference to how wide receivers were going to differentiate themselves and win their positions. He said 3 simple words: catch the ball. This is going to be crucial to complement that running game. Should it get going, the young receivers need to keep growing. Do you think that we have the personnel currently to be able to have an effective wide receiver core, if healthy? And do you look to see those young guys, Denarius Moore, Jacoby Ford, Kreiner, Streeter, you look to see big growth out of them this year?
Jacoby Ford kills it in Madden. Literally, if you look at our league, he's 98 speed, 97 acceleration. His route running is in the 90s now. His catching's in the in the 90s. He's unstoppable in Madden. Unfortunately, that doesn't play out in real life. I think Ford could be a stud. He's quick, drag routes, slants. He could be awesome for us. Moore proved to be really good last year and proved to really step up when a lot of guys didn't. But I like Kreiner because I watched him play at Arizona. And he is tall, and he's a beast. And he could be really good, but we definitely need to see them step up. And I think, again, it's a question mark. I think the biggest thing we can say about the Raiders in 2013 is they're a question mark in large part. What are they going to do? Who's hungry enough? Who wants it? Who can stay healthy? Now that, Maybe we have a groundskeeper to take care of the practice field. Those potholes will be filled in, and guys won't be slipping on geese crap and stuff like that. You know,
careful. Mark Davis might snuff us in our sleep, man. Don't talk ill about.
Yeah. I'm not talking ill. I'm saying, you know, maybe it's gonna happen now. Who knows? But I think the biggest thing is just question marks all around. But ultimately, I like what the guy wrote. Smart analysis of the team.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It was a nice article. It was a refreshing article, frankly. It was nice to see something that was well thought out and well examined, and not just a blast piece on the Oakland Raiders like what we're so used to seeing out of this team, other than maybe some local beat writer stuff.
Yeah, amen. Couldn't agree more. All right, Murph. That concludes Raiders Riportare for this week. We'll be back next week at 10:45 Pacific time. 10:45 Pacific time on Saturday night. Stay tuned for all the latest. Well, okay, maybe not all the latest. Stay tuned for all the relevant. Well, maybe not that either, Murph. How should we say this? Stay tuned for two people who think they can talk about the Raiders for 45 minutes and have a really cool intro with Metallica and the Raiders. That works, right?
That sounds like a great show.
That sounds perfect. Yeah, and because we played it, it was our first time playing the intro. We should play it again while we sign off. So thanks for tuning in. Until next week, go Raiders, and have a good week.
Welcome to the Sports Dagos with Raiders Riportare.
When you have great coaches, then after you have great coaches, you get great players. You have a great organization, and you tell them one thing: just win, baby.
Thank you.